other things, he manages intellectual property rights of prominent people and world stars, and he is also an Instagram influencer with over 85,000 followers.
I was always in my life really pretty lazy. If you're lazy, you need to find a way to survive. And then I will do this in August. After 9 months, I had 25,000 followers.
How Instagram changed your life?
Hello. Yes, hello.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, and thank you for the invitation.
And my first question would be,
Okay, so this was just an abstract of the podcast we produced recently, but yeah. And now we'll start my presentation, but first I want to ask you how many of you thought about opening your own business, starting a business? Oh, that's a lot. And how many of you already have your own business? No one. Okay, okay, Vasily, that's all. Cool. So I will try to mix some information about my personal journey, but with some practical information. So we'll see at the end how useful it was for you. Okay, so just start. So that's me. I started my company over 12 years ago. Now it's called the Loupe Strategic Marketing Communications. I also had a startup in AI in 2017, and yeah. And before that, I was a journalist. So that's also interesting to mention. And now you probably wonder why Vasily invited me to talk about tech business, was it like that, right? So, yeah, business in tech. It's because the company actually started with web development. And yeah, this is a story about how it started. Okay, so how it started. Yeah, many people guessed it already. When I just got my child, I tried to find a way how to combine, taking care of the child but not spending all the day in the office. And so my solution was that if I start my own project, I can work and have my child at home and spend a lot of time with the child. And so my first project, because I was a journalist, I started a website, a blog for parents with scientific information. So it was not just a blog, but I really was following the scientific news. I was rewriting them in the way that it would be readable for parents and was publishing them, but it didn't bring any money. So this is how it was. And one day what happened is that my husband got sick, and I was scared basically that we will have no money at all. And at this point I came to the brilliant idea why basically I know already how to do a website. I didn't do it myself, but I had a team who helped me of designers, so web developers. So I basically already had a team for that. Why don't we offer the services to other people? However, I lived in a small village in Luxembourg. This is a bit back to your question about so yeah, and I didn't know anyone. I also was not from this business, like from web development or whatever. I didn't have any connections at that point, and I was among Luxembourgish people, so basically no international people around. And how did I get my first customers, right? So, and what I did, basically, I came to my Luxembourgish teacher in the village. I said, hi, can I come for tea? I came to them and I asked her, you live in our village since whatever, since forever. Could you just tell me, please, who in the village, so it's touristic village, so there were some touristic businesses. So I asked her who are from Luxembourgish people are open-minded enough to work with the foreigner. And she told me, okay, this guy, this guy, and you know how desperate one can be when one needs to do something. And this is how it came. So I contacted, so she told me 3 names. I contacted all 3 of them, and then 2 people became my first clients. So this is how I started to do it. And then with time, we also added, because clients, we had more and more clients. Then we had clients asked us for graphic design, for different communication materials. So this is how we added to our team. Then a graphic designer. Then I started to do some content development because, well, with my journalistic background, so we started to develop that a bit. And now a bit of practical information. I don't know if you tried to get a business permit already. This is a bit of a small representation of how it works in Luxembourg. Some practical information for you. So basically, it means that if you have a university degree, you have a business permit. You can get it easily. The only exception is so-called protected professions, like a lawyer, a doctor, architect, where you need a special education. But if you have like profession like web developer or whatever, a manager, I don't know, some general, there is no problem of getting a business permit. However, if you have a university degree as a web developer, but you would like to open a restaurant, then you would need some professional, you need to confirm professional qualification. So you need a special diploma that you can cook to open the restaurant. So you cannot open a restaurant when you're a web developer. This is, I don't know if I do need to go through this in more detail, but I think that most of you have university degree probably. And this is also important to know because a lot of people are somehow lost when they would like to open a business and they don't know, well, how to approach that, but basically with university degrees it's quite easy. Then there is different types of companies. Okay, so I have here nice pictures. So the first form, which is called basically self-employed in English, but in Luxembourg it's called entreprise in your proper name. It means that if you open this kind of company, the name of the company always carries your name. For example, when I opened my company, it was called Tetyana Karpenko the Loupe. It was not possible anyway. Whatever you open, it always has your name in that. And the difference is that it's always, like you're always private person in that, right? So you have a company and have a private person. And the biggest difference for me, why I then changed the type of the company, was that you always bear the legal responsibility as a private person. For example, if something happened with your business, you are liable with your own belongings, with your own money, with whatever you have, with yourself. And so you don't have, but this is, I just want to stress that because it's very important, and if I have enough time and I come to very interesting part about scam and fraud in the business, I'll tell you that this is one of the most important things. So then there is, the tax is 0, but there is a communal tax. Communal tax is also a very interesting thing in Luxembourg because it depends on commune where you're registered, you have totally different taxes. And normally this information is also not published anywhere, so you cannot just go somewhere and look, in which commune, what is the tax, so you would probably need to address each commune and ask what tax you have, as always in Luxembourg. And then your income is your own income, right? And here is, once you have a business, you always can have expenses. You know that. So once you once you get some money from your clients, right? You can also spend money as a company, and then you can write it as expenses, and then you pay less taxes. In this case, as a private person, at the end of the year, when you have a declaration, you pay less taxes. However, it's not clear in Luxembourg what you can write as an expenses. So there's also no clear rules, right? And there is also, like, especially for people coming from different countries, it's also sometimes strange because, for example, in Germany, you can write gifts as an expenses. It's not the case in Luxembourg. Or for example, my friends, when they arrived from Ukraine, they saw that they can write into expenses food, because they said, okay, we are people, we eat, we need to eat, so there is expenses, we can put in expenses. It's also not the case in Luxembourg. So, and then how it functions in Luxembourg is that either you have an experienced tax advisor who knows, and he can say, okay, once we put it on the expenses and it went through, and it was okay, and we can do it again, or you just try. And this is how it works. You try, you put it, and then the tax authorities say no, and put it away. So this is how it works. It's trial and error in a way. And it can be an expensive trial and error. Yeah, so then this is a relatively new form. When I first opened my company, it didn't exist, SRLS. Yeah, but then I changed the company structure to SRLS because of the legal responsibility question. And yeah, so it was relatively new because in Luxembourg it was not, I think it's like relatively 5 years ago, and before that it was not possible. What was not possible? It was not possible to open a company with one person. And SRLS allows you to open a company with one person. It was thought like one person, 1 day, and €1, so it's not possible in 1 day. It was thought before, but it's still one person, maybe €1, so you don't have that much expenses. It's a bit much complicated than a normal SRL because you need to have the business permit at the same time as a registration SRS, but I will not concentrate it because that's kind of technical. Who's interested, we can talk later about that. I also not a business advisor, okay? So this is just information for you to get an overview. It's not meant for you to, so if you would like to start your company, please check yourself because laws are changing, and again, I'm not a business advisor, I'm not here to give you business advice. So what is also interesting, you have the tax on wealth, which is also very, I think it's funny because really big companies don't pay tax on wealth, only small companies pay. So the smaller companies are wealthy than the bigger companies. And yes, and then 5% is always deducted until you reach €12,000 because for the normal SRL you need to have €12,000 by law.
I have a little question about that one.
We can talk later, right? So we can yeah, so SRL normal is the big difference is that you need to go to notary and spend a lot of money to have a statute. You need to have €12,000 put on the account right from the beginning, and you need more than one person to do that. So this much more expensive, of course. And yeah. So again, the last two forms, SRL and SRLS, is a legal structure. It means that you are not, like, there is you and there is your company. So it's kind of there are two different entities. So whenever you have some problems with your clients or whatever, it's always your company who is liable, not personally you. And I think it's also important because they're coming to my favorite topic. So this, for example, I didn't know when I opened my company. I didn't know that, well, I paid my bills, like a normal person before I started the company. I didn't know that lots of people don't pay their bills. And especially companies often also don't pay their bills. And what is also interesting, I don't know if it's a speciality of Luxembourg or in a lot of countries happen like that people who scam you, so normally scammers, we would imagine, like in some African countries, people are sitting from the computers and doing like Nigeria, something like that. But in Luxembourg, it's well-dressed gentlemen or ladies, right? And actually, when I was in one of the first networking events, one lady told me that the person who will scam you or will do some fraudulent action would be the person you trust most. And it was like that. So basically, the people who kind of do such kind of things are mostly people who are very well situated in the society. And why they are doing that? Because they think, okay, we have already experience, we have our place in the society, we are very respectful, and basically nobody will believe you. You know, you're just starting your business, right? Nobody knows you. If you start saying, you know, like, it's my word against your word. So they think they can afford that, doing that. And so my story was that we worked with a very respectful gentleman who had a company. We worked several months. We had a contract. We had a lot of emails, like going back and forth with tasks, with everything. At a certain moment, he started to delay the payments, and then he had for several months didn't pay. We wrote a letter, the first rappel, which was the first reminder, and we got the same day we got the answer. We never ordered anything from you. We will not pay your bills. And now, what? Of course, you know, he knew that we had a contract. He knew that I had 1,000 emails. So he knew that I have proofs that we worked for him, right? So what was the idea behind the letter? It was intimidation, right? So he hoped that I don't know my rights. He hoped that I don't know that just emails or whatever. That's why my advice would be always to document everything. So whenever you have some task, you need to write an email, you need to confirm that, and even if you have, people in Luxembourg often like to have meetings. So they're like, okay, we forgot what we did last time, let's have a meeting. And after every meeting you need to send even a small report saying, okay, we agreed on this and this works, and this is already enough. So the idea behind that was really an intimidation, and they just wanted to scare you, right? And this is why it's also important to know your rights and not to be intimidated by such things. But there are a lot of different aspects around that. Yeah, I can later answer your questions. And and now we come a little to the end. So when I started with the web development and all my business, I actually didn't know that at the end, I mean, at this point, I will come back basically to where I started. It's not a journalism as it was, but now we started to produce podcasts for different clients, and I'm very happy that we can do it on such a nice level with such nice pictures and with a great content. By the way, this podcast is also about business. You can watch it on YouTube. It's called Authentic Grid. It's just the first episode that came out, and and that's it. Yeah, thank you for your attention.